in this video we're going to be covering choke from the front, static. That means there's no push, there's no pull, it's from a static position, which is very common for domestic disputes, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife. In the heat of the moment, everybody's getting angry and screaming at each other, they launch their attack. And it's not something that's premeditated, it just comes out of nowhere. Kind of like an instinct kind of attack. What's also very common as well is going to be sexual assault. So they're driven by fear, and when they're up close and personal with their victim, they're staring them right in the eyes, so that fear is driving them. So these are very common. We're going to be covering right now, from the front, static. Okay, in this particular technique, the hands are wrapped around my throat, all the way around my throat, was cutting off the air supply here and also blood supply here. I'm going for a position here on the hand, where the meat part of the hand here, in a hooking type motion. So my thumb and fingers are pressed together. I'm coming up over top of the arm, making contact with my collarbone. So make sure I get past that hand, and I'm ripping by hooking here and ripping along my shoulder line. So from the front, so slightly from the front here, when I'm ripping, you'll see that I'm actually ripping along my shoulder line and stopping it right here on my shoulder. So I'm not yanking it off my body, and I'm not yanking it over here into my armpit either. So I'm actually ripping from here along my shoulder line, almost like I'm just rolling that hand over to the palm faces up here. Okay, now this would be prime, if I could make this happen to where the palm's facing upwards, that way they can grab my shirt. But what may happen is I may drag that hand across my shirt like this, they may have a hold of it, okay? So, but my goal is to move that hand off my throat. I may only move it slightly here, just enough to get some airflow, or I may be successful in getting it all the way to here. It doesn't really matter. My ultimate goal is to open up that airway. So the hands go around the throat. Our natural reaction is to go towards our throat like we're being choked, and we put that into a self-defense move in a hooking motion. So when those hands are coming around my throat, both hands are coming up assisting in this. So we're both trying to rip both sides at the same time. So my elbows are rising to allow my hands to get on the other side of the choke. And then as I rip, I'm ripping across my shoulder line, and you'll see my elbows dropping and then locking into my rib cage here, which has a secure hold on that person. So the two weapons they had available to them for punches or chokes, I've now got control over. So my hands are coming up, making contact with my collarbone, and then ripping immediately, almost like there's a bug flying in my face and I'm slapping at it, okay? So I do not want to come up here, stop and pause, grab, and then pull, because they're going to intensify their choke and potentially start shoving you at that point. This has to be quick. It has to be a rip without them expecting it, so I can put myself in a better position in the fight to where I'm dominating at that point, because they weren't expecting me to actually come back with a defense on this particular type of attack. So when he's choking me, I'm coming up with both hands, ripping here. And you see how I'm leaning slightly back. And the reason why I'm leaning slightly back is when I yank his hands this direction, his head comes forward. So I need to make sure I'm moving back to prevent me from getting a headbutt break in my nose. So I'm going to lean back slightly as I rip here, but not too much to where I'm off balance if he used to shove me forward. It's just slightly back, just from here to here. So as I'm moving back and ripping at the same time, I'm swinging through for a kick. Now I make contact with them here, I may make contact with them there, depends on how long their reach is, but my goal is just to swing between their legs and get that kick in. So I'm ripping the choke and getting that kick in as quick as I can, which our ultimate goal is to deliver a strike as close in time as possible to the defense to allow us to break free and leave the scene. So I'm going to hit a couple strikes on the way out. As I transition and move away, I want to be delivering strikes as well, instead of just simply kicking to the groin and then turning here to run, and then he grabs me from behind. So I'm going to start creating that distance, but as I create that distance, I'm also delivering a strike at the same time. And I'm going for a low-lying strike. Almost every single technique we teach in KRAV MAGA is I finish with a low-lying strike. So typically a kick to the groin or a kick to the knee. In this particular circumstance, I kicked to the groin already, and I'm facing this direction, but I'm moving this direction, so I'm going to follow up with a kick to the knee as well as I'm transitioning to create that distance. So he chokes. My hands are rising, my elbow is coming up, ripping along my shoulder line, leaning back, swinging my leg through. I'm going to release these hands to step away. And I'm stepping in line with that foot that's pointing this direction because I want to hit him in the knee here and drive backwards, which the knee doesn't naturally go that direction, so I'm trying to dislocate that knee. So my foot is leading the motion in line with his foot. This is going to support my body weight when I bring this foot off the ground for the kick. So I don't want to step across like this right here where my foot's sideways and roll my ankle as I go for this kick, and then I go to the ground, and now it's a ground defense. I want to create that distance as quick as I can. So as I create the distance, I'm jumping out here, turning my foot so it's in line with the direction I'm going, bringing this leg across, loading up, and then extending out for the kick. Anytime I'm extending out for the kick, the weight of my leg is going to pull me back into my opponent if I don't lean. So as I load up and I kick, I'm leaning this direction to compensate for that weight that's extending out here from my leg here. And then as I bring my foot back in, my body starts to rise back up. So it looks like this, kick, and then I rise back up again. In this particular circumstance, because I want that ultimate distance that I'm trying to create as quickly as possible, so what I'm going to actually do instead of planting that foot back down is as I make that kick, I'm going to lunge forward with that same kicking leg. So as I jump out here, load, kick, I'm jumping forward with that leg I just kicked with, and you'll see the distance I create between me and him much faster. So I'm going from here, here, and then lunging. So I've created a lot of distance as I extend out past this person here versus I'm kicking, dropping my foot, and then running. It's just too much time there and too much potential for him to grab me now from behind. So key points again on this, and I'll show this from another couple angles as well. So as he comes in for the choke, hands around my throat, the meat part of the hand is where I'm going for, right here. So I'm in a hooking motion, thumb and fingers are pressed together, making contact to my collarbone to make sure I'm extending in deep enough to get this rip. Ripping across my shoulder line, leaning back for the kick, bringing this foot back, and then spinning here with my opposite foot as I go for this kick. Now this can go either direction. If there's a wall here, I may have to go this direction here and take this knee. If I've trained on a regular basis to always go this direction, that's probably what I'm going to do. But I can go either direction. The only thing that's going to limit me is my environment. So let's go from an angle from here, my back to the camera, and he chokes. I'm ripping, leaning back, stepping, kicking. And then of course my ultimate goal is to always create distance. I want to get out of there as quick as I can. Potentially running and just leaving the scene so it doesn't turn into something even more dangerous than what it started out. And they started out as a two-hand choke, but now the person deploys a knife, and now it's a knife defense. I would just soon leave and get out of there as quick as I can. And then call authorities and explain what happened and give them a description of who it was. And hopefully there's video cameras around that picked up that footage as well, which is going to help you if you have to go to court and defend yourself for whatever reason. So hopefully this was helpful. We're going to come back with another video now that's going to cover an alternative to that one that we just did.